Let me take another call. Harper in Canada.
Can you hear
Harper?
me? Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great, thanks, Greg. And Svali, I read your expose when it came out in Suite101.com a few years ago, and I always wondered what happened to you because you vanished from Suite 101. So it's great to hear about you. A couple quick questions. I'll make them real fast. First is the term Moriah conquering wind. I'd never heard that before or since I read it in your expose. I wondered if you could elaborate on that term a little bit. I also wanted to ask you if this cult, as far as you know, claims to or believes to derive any of its heritage from Atlantis or any other lost civilization. Okay.
I'm not sure about the reference to Moriah you're describing, because Moriah is I mean, but I can certainly address the second question. The Illuminati completely believe that Atlantis is real. They teach it to their children as part of the oral history. They believe it was one of the greatest civilizations that ever existed and one of the most advanced. And what they teach, their take on it is that Atlantis was a great race of highly intelligent people who had a highly advanced state, and who were highly enlightened. And what they teach the Illuminati children is that then this prophet of the enemy, who is the prophet of God, came and foretold their destruction if they didn't change their ways, because they were definitely occultists. They were Luciferian on Atlantis. I mean, that was the religion. And in fact, a lot of the advances that Atlantis enjoyed was passed down to them through supernatural means, is what I'll say. And so they laughed at the prophet, and they killed him. And I guess sometime afterwards, we were taught that a few inhabitants escaped, but that tragically the great city was lost. And the Illuminati to this day mourn the loss of Atlantis, because they feel that the few survivors that left were among the great people who helped found what you call the precursors of Illuminism.
One more quick question, if I may, and I wanted to ask you if you have any reason to believe that the people, men and or women at the top of the pyramid, so to speak, practice a kind of magic where they are kind of skipping through time, in other words.
Oh, yes.
Leaving one body, a solar spirit, leaving one body and coming and being born into another one, and therefore, living through time.
All the time. In fact, see, now I didn't go there in this interview because you start sounding wacko if you start discussing things like that. But in the spiritual side, they very much teach things like time travel, traveling out of body, psychic battling, things like that, things that cannot be explained by logic. And I saw things that I cannot explain through human intellect or reasoning that were highly supernatural and involve all of that and more.
Okay, great. It's a pleasure to speak with you, man. God bless you.
Thanks, Harper. I think we have Dave Wilcox called in. I think you know Dave through emails.
Yes.
Svali. Dave, you want to say hello, and you have a question for Svali?
Sure. Svali, it's great to have you on the air. I'm really glad you decided to do it, so thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Dave. It's good to talk with you.
Yeah, I feel like you're an old friend. I've been reading your stuff for so long, and you share so willingly and openly about yourself. It's a real honor to be able to speak with you in person like this.
Well,
go ahead. Well, Dave, you may have something you want to say to Svali. Go ahead.
Sure.
Question?
I think one of the things I'd really like to have covered here is you shared with me in an email recently about the stages of enlightenment that they try to guide people through.
Yes.
And I would like you to try to sketch out for people how the behavioral conditioning that's coming through the media and the movies and so forth might have affected them. In other words, what personality characteristics would you see in a person when they have been influenced by these teachings? How would the average person who's not really a bad person start to be leaning if the Illuminati teachings were actually having an effect on them? What would they be like? What would start happening?
Well, again, as I said, the average person is not going to be a member of the group, so the influence would be much less. But the media, I believe that, well, in fact, I know that some of the media that we're seeing nowadays is specifically targeted towards teaching people their philosophy or goals. All you have to do is watch a children's cartoons on Saturday morning, and almost across the board, you'll see morphing, power battles, occult, and that's intentional. Movies coming out. But basically, if a person's being influenced by their teachings, that person will learn to not trust their own instincts, their own feelings, their own body, their own perceptions. They'll be looking outside for guidance. Second of all, they will be moving towards a heavily occultic worldview. That leaning upon the occult is very heavily encouraged. All you have to do is watch Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of the...
I mean, not to slam one of the most popular movies, but yes, I mean, or The Matrix. If you want to know pure Illuminist philosophy, The Matrix shows it.
Oh, yeah.
The entire...
Right down with Morpheus being broken down with the injections, and they said that it's like hacking a computer.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back with our final segment, Big Finish on the Investigative Journal with Svali on the Public Broadcasting Network. Okay, we're back with our final segment with Svali, and she's telling us about her experiences, 30 years with this insidious group, the Illuminati, and how deeply penetrated and infiltrated they are in our culture and in our country. Svali, we talked about the higher levels, the mid-levels you were involved in as a head trainer. How low do they go? I mean, I've said all along they're involved in gang stalking, the MK Ultra program, infiltrating truth organizations, infiltrating groups that are trying to do good. How far down do they go?
Well, they go down to the sister group level that I mentioned, and most sister groups have anywhere from usually roughly around 30 members, and those are what a lot of people would consider what you think of as satanic cults with the high priest and priestess. That would be the local level, the lower level. But those people are also very active in their community, and so they will be involved in infiltrating activities when possible, because to them it's not infiltrating, it's helping. They think they're helping the group or helping people by becoming a member and spreading the influence.
Let me squeeze in one more caller, Roger, a faithful listener. Roger, you're on the Investigative Journal.
Yeah, thanks. I had so big a question and so little time, but maybe I just squeeze it.
Got a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Really try to work it in, Roger.
Yeah, well, you'll enjoy this first, and that is I recall when Charlotte Iserbeat was here on the local Clear Channel radio show, and the host was, of course, dismissive of an Illuminati agenda. It was great to hear Charlotte say, "You're telling me my own father was a high," and she, of course, was a first or second fiddle secretary at the Department of Ed. And she says, "You're telling me my own father on his deathbed was telling me, you go get him, girl." And he was one of them. And so that was great. Anyway, my question was towards the philosophical-religious motivators, if you will, which you've been dwelling on, and I've been trying to form it up into a more cohesive integration.
Try to make it quick. We're running out of time. Go ahead.
Yeah, to expose the ethos of the, it's like the neocons serve as the pseudo-intellectual rationale for the Illuminati agenda, and I don't presume that it turns on such fine distinctions so much as it is a bare-knuckled lust for power. But everybody has sort of a worldview that's they use to justify their actions, and of course it's a most unconservative, humanistic social engineering agenda on a far larger scale. And now, you mentioned about these people are basically, and it's rare as hen's teeth.
Quick, Roger.
Yeah, to find somebody that's not oxymoronically both a spiritualist and occultist, and also what do you call a hardcore rationalist, or maybe that's just for public consumption, right?
I know there was a question there somewhere, Roger, but anyway, thanks for calling. I only got a minute. I got to finish with Svali. Svali, tell us in your own words, you got about a minute or two left here. You went forward, you came forward, you're now living a life completely away from them. What's your hopes of the future in our country right now?
My hope is that people realize that this is happening and that they will start doing something about it. That they will start looking at Now, again, we're talking about people who are immensely wealthy, so it won't be easy. But if people could rise up in prayer and just say, this isn't okay, if people will become informed enough to want to learn more about it, be aware that it exists, and then possibly pray that people will take action against the things that are happening. Because
okay, Svali,
we're
all out of time. We're going to end on